I'm Linda. Glad to have you back. I just finished up a beautiful little snow scene, mountains, with a pretty little lake. I'm calling this one a lake where spirits live. I had so much fun with this. The mountain was awesome to paint, different blues, a little touch of rose pink, reflections in the water. I know you're going to love this one. So follow me, pause and paint. So let's get started. Here are the oil paints I used: liquid white, titanium white, black, phthalo blue, Prussian blue, Van Dyke brown, rose madder, or alizarin crimson, and red. And I prepared my canvas with liquid white all over, and I've taken a shop rag to take off the excess oil. So now I'm going into the rose madder and going to do a little bit of accenting in the clouds, some pink areas where I want the sunset or sunrise color there. Not going to be the whole area, just in the center there. And then a little bit down in the water, reflection where the water's going to be. And just pull that down to the left corner. So now I've taken some phthalo blue and I made a little horizon line. I put a little extra blue on the top. But I'm going into the same blue, same brush, and working my way up to that horizon line, filling in kind of the bottom white areas there. The bottom of the canvas is going to be a little bit darker, bottom edge. A little bit of phthalo blue, follow through with that. Don't go all the way over into the pink because that will be more lavender then. So now I'm taking the 1 inch with the phthalo blue on. I'm going up and putting some sky color. Way on the top, I'm just going to meet up with the pink area. I'm not really going to go into that area. Making the corners just a little bit darker. Little circular motions. I tap my brush every time. Okay, I'm taking a little bit of titanium on a little fan brush. Do little circular motions, little cloud effects in there. Make little areas of clouds going up. Loading as you go. And you can put that cloud formation, you can put it kind of right on the line where the blue meets the pink. That kind of helps camouflage it a little bit. Because when you do blend them together, they get a little more lavender. So I'm going to you can put as many of the clouds you want in there. After I get a certain amount, I'm going to go down into the pink, work up a little bit. Winter sky. So I'm taking a nice dry brush and do some circular motions underneath, buffing that bottom edge out, making them look nice and soft. Lift up a little bit, brush across, and they'll blend in nicely. So I'm going into making a very dark color, Prussian, black, Van Dyke brown, the rose color, and a little bit of white. And that's going to be the paint we're going to be using a lot, so you might want to make an extra big batch of that because that's trees and a lot of things. So this is the base for the mountain. A little bit on a palette knife, little roll, and just shape the peak, pulling that excess paint downward. going to form another little peak here to meet up. Pull down a little bit, just grab some of that paint and pull it down. It's rather high up in the sky. It's not way down like toward the middle of the canvas, so keep your mountain fairly high. Just get that shape there. I'm going to take a nice dry, I'm using a 1-inch. I'm going to pull some of that extra dark paint down and just blend it in. Leave some of that pink in the bottom though. Don't bring all that blue totally down into that pink area, because that's kind of a sky highlighted area there. Just grab some of that and pull the excess down all the way over. And then just brush downward. But see, I left a little of that pink down at the bottom, so that's all you want to do. Now with a nice roll on your paint of titanium, wrist toward your canvas, pull gently down. You don't need a lot of paint on that, a roll on there either. I mean, if you've got most of that blue taken off, it should glide just tacky enough, it'll catch. But if it still doesn't go very good, then you need to thin down your white a little more, either with liquid white or a little bit of thinner. Then it should work. And just angle down, creating some new layers of your mountain, different peaks. Leave the crevices dark there. We're going to be putting in some shadow color. Just making the snowy tops. And I'm going to do some more here with the white, figuring out my angles of the mountain. It's nice to have a picture to look at, or, you know, reference. At least you get an idea. Going into a kind of a muddy blue. It's that same dark mountain color with a little white added to it. Off to the side, that's your shadow color. Just a little white. It's not as bright as your icy blue, but it's more geared for the shadow. Works good. And on the left side there, so at the peak, bring down your shadow side. Then you can go back over that and create a little snowy, you know, landslide things or whatever. But make it look a little more natural. And just pull down with a little highlight color over the blue, and it'll give you a nice effect. And just shape your peaks. You can change it like I just did. Change my flow of the snow. You can make it however you want. And with the shadows in there, do your little shadow color. shaping your peaks. So now I made Prussian blue, black, or Prussian blue and a little bit of phthalo blue for the background hills, really far away background hills. They're a little more bluey. So then I'm going to go underneath the mountain a little bit at the base with some white on my fan brush, creating a little snowbank under there, or at least land for some evergreens to sit on. Just tapping in little snowy areas back there. And then you can lift up with your brush and create little, really super tiny little trees back there. So now I've got the medium blue, same color as we just used, add a little white, and we're gonna do some tiny little trees back on top of that snowbank. Small fan brush, load it up. Mark where you want them. I'm going to do 4 of them here. And just go side to side, making your little branches. And just go down just a little bit to just before you hit the edge of that white. Give yourself a little room there, because they're really small back there. And then with the same brush, just tap underneath those trees, little bushes under there that connect with those trees, and then tiny little darker blue, like mountain blue, use them out just a little darker, and go underneath them and pull down. It's a shadow that's going to be in the water, reflection in the water. So you want to have little tree shadows there. And we're creating a shadow, kind of like a mountain. It's just a shadowy area. It's a darker area. And just go down a tiny bit more, a little below halfway mark, I think. Take the palette knife, put a little roll of white, do your shoreline just underneath those trees. And a little zigzag in front, creating some movement in the water. So I've got the same dark blue color, a little bit of white to it. I'm going to start making some distant pine trees, but they're not going to be real dark. They're a little lighter shade, the same as the ones in back. But they're just distant larger trees. Just a little bit lighter shade. We'll highlight those too. Corner of the brush, side to side. And go down probably about where those little tiny trees, you can end it right about there, because there's going to be some trees in front of these, so you don't have to waste your paint. Have the paint built up. Some more of that medium lighter blue. Gonna make another one. A little bit shorter. Tapping. Alright. Okay, I did put a little lighter highlight in on some of those trees. And right now I'm grabbing the darker blue. That's Prussian, a little bit of Van Dyke brown, a touch of black, a little bit of rose color, and just a touch of white. We're making a really dark, like a mountain background type color. And I have a little landmass coming out there. I'm just gonna kind of mark in where I think it's gonna go. Kind of angle up a little bit. Not quite as far as those ripples you put in the water. But in the meantime, I'm going to fill that area in. You can use a fan brush, or you can use a 1-inch to tap in some foliage in that. Kind of angle around. I'm going to have another dark evergreen tree there, alongside of that, right in front actually of that lighter blue one. So I'm following through and bringing that small pine tree down a little bit. And so now I'm tapping in some foliage in front of those back pines, the little brush with that dark color, putting in some landscape down there. And you can leave a few open blue areas, but it's there's a lot of brush in there. Working my way down to the edge, which will be a little shoreline. Figuring out how far out I want my peak there. Just widening that up a little bit and then angling out to a little point. And that's where that little landmass is going to be, right there. So now I'm taking a fan brush and pulling down some of that shadow color, creating shadow of those big pine trees. Just pulling it down. And you can adjust those as we go. We'll see after we get the foliage on the bottom, because they are creating pretty large shadow there. And just okay, so I am putting in the foreground there, the bottom of the canvas. I've got a round brush. I'm just tapping in some of that dark color, letting the brushes create little bushes, just tapping lightly. Going farther up on the right, because there's going to be some big trees over there, so I want to make sure that landmass there is high enough. And then I'll follow through and go around the bottom. Just filling in different layers of the dark color. Figuring out just how high I want to go, because there's going to be some trees there. I want to come out a little bit farther. So there I am, working my way over that left corner. Just filling in. Keeping it a little bit darker on the bottom and maybe darker where create a path like. See, now I'm bringing in down my shadows just a little bit farther down. So now I'm going to create a water line beneath those pines in the back. Little bitty roll on palette knife. Just gently leaving a little shadow right above the water line. You want to leave a little bit of that shadow there. And just glide over. Creating a few little ripples underneath. And putting in some water lines, which is fun to do. Keeping your wrist toward the canvas and making fairly straight lines. Okay, so I'm going into that dark color again. Gonna make a couple of big pine trees. And the first one there is pretty high up. It's probably maybe about 1.5 inches down from the top. I know I go really high up there because that's a big evergreen. And tapping the corner of my brush, reloading. And if you find that paint isn't going on very good, you can just tap your brush in a little bit thinner. And then blot it out on a paper towel. Reload, and it should stick very nice. I'm going to end it just below the tops of those bushes. So I'm putting in another one, kind of hugging the side of the canvas. Working my way down. So now I think I'm going to put a smaller one, kind of angling out like over the water a little bit. Not real big. I'm just going to have it so it's just kind of leaning out a little bit. Gives it a neat feel. Okay, so I'm putting same color in the pathway or that center of that big area down at the bottom. Just having variations of dark and light, just a little bit. Sporadic here and there. We'll be putting some white highlights down there, and that white will pick up a lot of that blue, so it's going to look really cool. pushing up. Okay, I'm putting in same color, putting in another a little bit larger than those icy blue trees in the back, but it's going to be the dark color. And following through, just taking my palette knife, pulling some of that dark color up to make the peaks. Okay, now I am going into that medium blue, adding some white and having a little white on my brush. I'm going to highlight those pines. You do all of them, just a little bit here and there. Don't want a lot on my brush, so that's why I'm kind of tapping some of that white off. But you want enough on there so it'll stick. If it doesn't stick, add a little bit of liquid white, just a little bit to titanium. So now I'm tapping in a 1-inch brush, and I'm going to make some tiny little bushes in the back land there, just ever so lightly. Don't need a lot there, just enough. Now I'm putting in the trunk of a tree there. Got a little flat filbert with a chiseled edge, going right lightly, pulling up lightly with your hand as you go up, creating a nice little point on the top of those trunks. Just lifting up really light. So now I'm taking my liner brush, same color, a little more thinner with that paint to create some little branches. If you pull up, twirl your brush just a little bit with your fingers, that'll create a nice little point on those. You can make them look kind of gnarly, you know, twisting around. You can just keep putting in little branches. And I'm bringing in another some twigs down at the bottom, little branches, kind of that lean out into the water. Perfecting that trunk of the tree there. You can make it however you want. So I'm adding some kind of an icy blue on the outside of those trunks. Gives it some really nice highlights. Makes it look really neat. And it's so dark there, you'll be able to see the angles and the shapes of your big tree. So now I'm taking a clean 1-inch with tipped in a little bit of white, a little bit of liquid, just enough to tap in some bushes. Going into that dark color again, I'm bringing in some branches that are on the shoreline, kind of leaning over into the water. So now with my palette knife, I've got a little bit of a roll of white on that. I'm creating a little water line. Maybe the water seeping in there, and just going to follow up into that dark area there to the base of that tree. So I almost see a finished painting here. Boy, I really love doing this one, and I hope you do too. So until next time, happy painting, and God bless.